5 days later, I was sitting on the terrace of Auberge du Soleil in Napa Valley, swirling a 2019 Stag's Leap Cabernet in my glass, as the California sunset painted the vineyard hills gold and crimson. My phone buzzed for what must have been the 100th time that afternoon. I glanced at the screen. 156 unread text messages, all from the same three numbers. My daughter Sarah, my son-in-law Derek, and oddly enough, Derek's mother Patricia, who hadn't spoken to me in 2 years. I took another sip of the wine, let it warm on my tongue, and set the phone face down on the white linen tablecloth. My name is Robert Morrison. I'm 67 years old, and for 42 years I was a licensed architect in San Francisco. I designed everything from sustainable housing projects to that glass-fronted office building on Market Street you've probably seen if you've ever visited the city. I retired 3 years ago, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. My wife Catherine passed away 4 years before that, and after she was gone, I found I didn't have quite the same fire for it anymore. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to Thanksgiving week, 6 days ago. It was a Tuesday evening. I was in my house in Mill Valley, the same house Catherine and I bought in 1985 when Sarah was just 2 years old. I'd made myself dinner, nothing fancy, just grilled salmon and roasted vegetables, and I was reading a biography of Frank Lloyd Wright when my daughter called. "Hi, Dad," Sarah said. Her voice had that particular tone I'd learned to recognize over the past year. "Hey, sweetheart," I said, setting the book aside. "How are you?" "I'm good." "Listen, Dad, I wanted to talk to you about Thanksgiving. I wanted to talk to you about Thanksgiving. I wanted to talk to you about Thanksgiving." I'd been expecting this conversation, though I'd hoped I was wrong. "Okay, so Derek's mother really wants to host this year. She's been talking about it for months, and you know how she gets. She's already planned the whole menu, and she's invited Derek's brother and his family, and her sister is flying in from Ohio." I waited. The pause stretched. "The thing is, Dad, her dining room only seats 10 people, and with Derek's family, we're already at 11 if you count the kids. And his mom is very particular about her table settings. You know how she is. She's been planning this specific arrangement." "Sarah," I said quietly, "what are you trying to say?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Derek thinks it might be easier if we just do Thanksgiving with his family this year. Less complicated. You understand, right? We can do something with you the weekend after. Just the three of us. We could go to that Italian place you like in Sausalito." Something cold settled in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something quieter, and somehow worse. "I see," I said. "Dad, please don't be upset. It's just one holiday. And, you know, Derek's mom, she's so sensitive about these things. If we don't show up, she'll make it into this whole drama. And Derek's already stressed about the promotion at work, and I just don't need the conflict right now." I could hear it in her voice. She'd already made up her mind. This call wasn't a discussion. It was a notification. "And what about Christmas?" I asked. "We'll figure something out for Christmas. This is just about Thanksgiving." "When's the last time I saw you, Sarah?" The question seemed to catch her off guard. "What? I don't know. We had lunch like 3 weeks ago." 5 weeks ago, I said. "September 23rd, at the Ferry Building. You stayed for 45 minutes, because Derek called and said he needed you to pick up his dry cleaning before the cleaner closed." Silence. "Dad, I don't understand why you're making this difficult." "I'm not making anything difficult, sweetheart. I'm just trying to understand when I became the complicated part of the equation." "That's not fair, isn't it? Look, I need to go. Derek just got home and I need to start dinner. We can talk about the weekend after Thanksgiving later, okay? I'll text you." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there in my living room, the Frank Lloyd Wright biography forgotten on the side table, and looked around at the house I'd designed myself. The exposed beams Catherine had loved, the floor-to-ceiling windows that caught the morning light, the custom bookshelves I'd built by hand the summer Sarah turned 16. On the mantel was a photo from Sarah's wedding 3 years ago. Me in my gray suit, Sarah in her white dress, both of us laughing at something the photographer had said. Derek was in the background, checking his phone. I picked up my own phone and opened my banking app. Then I pulled up my calendar. Then I made 3 phone calls. The first was to United Airlines. The second was to Auberge du Soleil. The third was to Marcus Chen, an old client who'd become a friend over a 20-year professional relationship. He owned half the commercial real estate in Napa Valley. "Robert Morrison," Marcus said when he answered. "I was just thinking about you." "How the hell are you?" "I'm well, Marcus. Listen, I need a favor." The next morning, I packed a bag. Not much. Some nice shirts, a sport coat, a pair of Italian loafers Catherine had bought me for my 60th birthday that I'd never had occasion to wear. I watered my plants. I set the thermostat. I left a note for my neighbor asking him to grab my mail. Then I drove to SFO and caught a 10:30 flight to Sacramento. I could have driven to Napa from Mill Valley. It's barely an hour and a half. But somehow taking a flight made it feel more official, more deliberate. I didn't tell Sarah I was leaving. I didn't tell anyone. The Auberge du Soleil sits up in the hills above Rutherford, surrounded by 33 acres of olive groves and oak trees, overlooking the Napa Valley. Catherine and I had stayed there once for our 30th anniversary. We'd spent 3 days doing nothing but drinking wine, eating incredible food, and sitting on our private terrace watching the sun set over the vineyards. "We should do this more often," she'd said on our last evening there, her hand in mine. "We will," I'd promised. We never got the chance. I checked in Wednesday afternoon. The woman at the front desk, maybe 30 years old with kind eyes, smiled when she saw my reservation. "Mr. Morrison, welcome back. I see here you're one of our returning guests." "I am," I said. "I was here about 8 years ago. Well, we're delighted to have you. We've placed you in the Maison Fleurie suite. It has a private terrace with vineyard views. I think you'll find it very peaceful." "That sounds perfect." She handed me a key card and a folder with information about the property. "Our Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow is fully booked, but as a suite guest, you have a reserved table in the main dining room. We'll be serving from 3 to 9. And of course, all of our restaurants are open if you'd prefer something more casual." "Thank you," I said. I took my bag up to the room myself, declining the bellhop. The suite was exactly as beautiful as I remembered. Terracotta floors, French doors opening onto the terrace, a king bed with white linens that probably had a thread count higher than my mortgage payment. I stood on the terrace for a long moment, looking out at the rows of grapevines stretching toward the hills. The air smelled like dry grass and eucalyptus and something else, something California and specific that I couldn't name. Then I pulled out my phone and took a photo. The terrace, the wine country, the afternoon sun. I posted it to Facebook with a simple caption, "Thankful for this view." I hadn't posted to Facebook in probably 6 months. I barely used it anymore, but I knew Sarah checked it religiously. I set the phone on the terrace table and went inside to unpack. The messages started 20 minutes later. First, Sarah, "Dad, where are you?" Then, 2 minutes later, "Is that Napa?" Then, "Are you at Auberge?" Then, "Dad, please answer your phone." I was in the shower when she started calling. I let it ring through to voicemail. Then I got dressed, put on one of the nice shirts I'd packed, and went downstairs to the bar. The Auberge bar is small, intimate, with windows overlooking the valley and a bartender who knows how to make a proper old-fashioned. I ordered one and sat at the corner of the bar with a clear view of the sunset. My phone buzzed continuously in my pocket. I ignored it. "Celebrating something?" the bartender asked as he set down my drink. "Thanksgiving tomorrow," I said. Family coming to join you?" "No," I said. "Just me this year." He nodded, like that wasn't unusual, and moved down the bar to help another customer. I sipped my old-fashioned and watched the sun sink lower. The sky went from blue to gold, to pink, to deep orange. The vineyards turned dark green, almost black in the fading light. Someone a few seats down was having a quiet conversation about terroir and minerality in Chardonnay. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out. "Sarah, Dad, this is ridiculous. Please call me." "Derek, Robert." Sarah's worried. "Can you give her a call?" "Sarah, I don't understand why you're being like this." I put the phone away and ordered another old-fashioned. That night, I had dinner at the resort's restaurant. Butternut squash soup, pan-seared halibut, A chocolate soufflé that took 20 minutes to prepare and was worth every second of the wait. I ate slowly, deliberately, watching the other diners. Couples mostly, a few families. Everyone dressed nicely, speaking in low voices, savoring the experience. At the table next to mine, an older woman, maybe 75, was dining alone. She had a book propped up against her water glass and was working her way through a steak with obvious pleasure. Our eyes met once and she smiled. I smiled back. "Solo Thanksgiving?" she asked. "Solo Thanksgiving," I confirmed. "Best decision I ever made," she said. "My kids wanted me to fly to Boston. I told them I'd rather eat good food in peace." I laughed. "I think you made the right choice." "Damn right I did." By the time I got back to my room, my phone showed 43 missed calls and 92 text messages. I sat on the terrace in the dark, the valley spread out below me like a carpet of tiny lights, and scrolled through them. Sarah. "Dad, I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear?" Sarah. "This is childish." Sarah. "Derek and I are worried about you." Derek. "Robert, man to man, I think you're overreacting. It's just one Thanksgiving." Then, surprisingly, Patricia, Derek's mother. "Robert, Derek told me about the situation. I'm sure we can make room at the table if it's that important to you." The messages kept coming, getting progressively more frantic as the day wore on. Sarah. "Are you okay? Please just let me know you're okay." Sarah. "I'm calling the police if I don't hear from you by midnight." I checked the time. 11:47 p.m. I typed a single message. "I'm fine. Enjoying the wine country. Have a good Thanksgiving." I sent it and turned off my phone. Thanksgiving morning dawned clear and cool. I woke up early, made coffee in the room's espresso machine, and sat on the terrace watching the sun come up over the hills. There's something about California light in the morning, the way it's sharp and clean and seems to make everything more vivid. I went for a long walk through the resort's grounds, past the olive groves and through the sculpture garden. I found myself in front of a bronze statue of a man and woman holding hands, their faces turned up toward the sun. It made me think of Catherine. "What would you say about all this?" I asked her, speaking quietly to the statue, to the memory, to the cool morning air. I could almost hear her voice. "That's enough feeling sorry for yourself, Robert. Go have a good day." So I did. I had breakfast on the terrace. Eggs Benedict with smoked salmon, fresh squeezed orange juice, more coffee. A waiter who refilled my cup without being asked and complimented my choice of reading material, a collection of essays about California architecture. Around noon, I turned my phone back on. 156 text messages, 19 voicemails, and 3 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize, with a 707 area code, Napa Valley. I listened to the voicemail from that number first. "Mr. Morrison, this is Catherine at Auberge du Soleil's concierge desk. I have a message from a Marcus Chen. He wanted me to let you know he's confirmed your reservation for this evening at the Meadowood Estate for the special Thanksgiving wine dinner. The car will pick you up at 5 p.m. If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to call." I smiled. I spent the afternoon by the pool, not swimming, just sitting in one of the loungers with a book, occasionally looking up at the sky. It was nearly 80 degrees, warm for November, and the air smelled like chlorine and expensive sunscreen. My phone kept buzzing. I kept ignoring it. At 4:30, I went back to my room and changed into my sport coat and the Italian loafers. I looked at myself in the mirror. 67 years old, silver hair that Catherine used to say made me look distinguished, laugh lines around my eyes. I looked, I thought, like a man who had his life together. The car was waiting at 5 sharp, a black Mercedes. The driver opened the door, and we headed deeper into the valley, towards Street Helena. The Meadowood Estate is one of those places you only know about if you're in the wine business or if you have serious money. It's tucked away off the Silverado Trail, surrounded by Mayacamas Mountains on one side and vineyards on the other. Marcus had mentioned it casually once during a lunch meeting 3 years ago. "When you really want to impress someone," he'd said, "that's where you go." The Thanksgiving dinner was held in a private room with maybe 20 other guests. Wine industry people mostly. I gathered from the conversations. A few familiar faces from architectural magazine covers. The sommelier walked us through each course, pairing wines I'd only seen in auction catalogs, a 2010 Screaming Eagle, a 1997 Harlan Estate. I sat next to a woman named Elena, who turned out to be a winemaker from Sonoma. We talked about soil composition and how the California drought had affected vine growth and whether steel fermentation tanks really made a difference in flavor profiles. She didn't ask me why I was there alone. I didn't ask her either. "What do you do, Robert?" she asked over the cheese course. "I was an architect. Retired now. Were you any good?" I laughed. "I like to think so. What was your best project?" I thought about that. There was a community center I designed in the Mission District. Nothing fancy, but it had this central courtyard with a fountain and natural light coming in through clerestory windows. The city wanted something functional. I wanted to give them something beautiful. We compromised and ended up with both. "That's the dream, isn't it?" Elena said. "Beauty and function." It is. By the time dinner ended, it was nearly 10 p.m. The driver took me back to Auberge. I sat in the back seat, pleasantly full of good food and excellent wine, watching the dark shapes of the vineyards pass by the windows. My phone showed 203 text messages. I scrolled through a few of them. "Sarah. Dad, I called the police. They said you're an adult and they can't do anything unless there's evidence of danger, but I'm freaking out. Derek. Look, man, I get it. I'd be upset too. Can we just talk about this? Patricia. Robert. This is getting ridiculous. You're upsetting Sarah." And then, time stamped from 30 minutes ago. "Sarah. I saw you posted another picture on Facebook. Of course you're fine. You just wanted to make a point." "Well, congratulations, Dad." "Point made. Hope you're enjoying your little vacation while I spend Thanksgiving worried sick about you." I put the phone away and looked out at the dark valley. The next morning, Friday, I slept until 9. When's the last time I'd done that? I couldn't remember. I made coffee, ate the chocolate croissant housekeeping had left outside my door with the morning newspaper, and sat on the terrace in my bathrobe watching the valley wake up. Around 10:30, I called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. "Dad." Finally. "Good morning, sweetheart." "Good morning? That's all you have to say?" "Dad, I've been out of my mind. I thought something happened to you. I thought maybe you had a stroke or a heart attack or—" "Sarah," I said calmly. "I'm fine. I'm in Napa Valley. I sent you a message saying I was okay. One message. After you disappeared. After you posted those pictures like nothing was wrong. Nothing is wrong. Then why didn't you answer your phone?" I looked out at the vineyards, at the morning sun illuminating the leaves, at the perfect California sky. "Because I was having dinner," I said, "and lunch, and breakfast. Because I was enjoying myself. Because I realized I didn't owe anyone a minute-by-minute account of my whereabouts. That's not fair, Dad. Isn't it? Let me ask you something, Sarah. When's the last time you invited me to something without it being an afterthought? When's the last time I wasn't the one calling you? When's the last time my plans were actually considered before someone else's?" Silence on the other end. "I love you," I continued. "You're my daughter, and I would do anything for you. I paid for your college. I helped with the down payment on your house. I've been there for every birthday, every promotion, every time you needed someone to watch your cat when you went on vacation. But somewhere along the way, I became convenient. Not important, just convenient." "Dad, that's not true." "Then tell me why Derek's mother's seating arrangement was more important than having me at Thanksgiving dinner." More silence. "I didn't mean it like that," Sarah said finally. Her voice was small. "I know you didn't. That's what makes it worse." I could hear her crying now. Soft, hiccuping sounds. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know you are. What do I do now?" "That's up to you, sweetheart. I'm going to be here through Sunday. After that, I'm going home. And when I get there, we can talk about what happens next. But I need you to understand something. I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking you to choose between me and Derek's family. I'm just asking to not be the one you forget about. I never forgot about you. Didn't you?" She was quiet for a long moment. "How's the wine country?" she asked finally. "Beautiful. Your mother and I stayed here once. She loved it. I remember. She showed me the pictures. You should come up sometime. Bring Derek. I'll take you to dinner. There's a place called Meadowood that serves port older than you are." Sarah laughed through her tears. "That sounds nice." "It is nice. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart." After we hung up, I sat on the terrace for a while longer. My phone buzzed with a new message. "Derek, Robert, Sarah told me about your conversation. I owe you an apology. The Thanksgiving thing was my idea. I thought it would be easier for everyone." I typed back, "Apology accepted. But Derek, here's the thing. I'm not asking for much. Just respect. Can you manage that?" His response came quickly. "Yes, sir, I can." I spent the rest of Friday exploring Street Helena, walking through the downtown area, stopping in art galleries and wine tasting rooms. I had lunch at a small French bistro where the owner recognized me from years ago. "You designed the Riverside office complex, didn't you?" he asked. "I did. Beautiful work. My brother-in-law has an office there. Always says it's the best natural light in the city." That was the idea. Saturday morning, I checked out of Auberge. The same woman from the front desk smiled as she processed my bill. "I hope you enjoyed your stay, Mr. Morrison." "I did. Very much." "Will we see you again soon?" "I think so," I said. "Maybe for my birthday next year." On the drive home, I took the scenic route down Highway 29, past the wineries, and through the small towns with their Victorian houses and roadside fruit stands. The November sun was warm through the windshield. Bob Dylan was playing on the radio. When I got back to Mill Valley, my neighbor was getting his mail. "Robert, where have you been? I was about to check if you were okay." "Just took a little trip," I said. "Wine country." "By yourself?" "By myself." He nodded approvingly. "Good for you, man. Sometimes that's exactly what you need." That evening, I made myself dinner. Spaghetti carbonara, Catherine's recipe, the one she'd perfected over 20 years of trial and error. I opened a bottle of wine I'd brought back from Napa, a Cabernet from a small producer Elena had recommended. I ate at the kitchen table, looking out at the backyard where Sarah used to play when she was little. The rope swing I'd hung from the oak tree was still there, weathered but sturdy. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, are you home?" "Me. Just got back." "Sarah, can I come by tomorrow? For lunch?" "Me. I'd like that." "Sarah, just me. Or can I bring Derek?" I thought about that for a moment. "Me. Bring Derek. We should all talk." Sunday afternoon, they showed up right at noon. Sarah was carrying a bakery box, and Derek had a bottle of wine. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd taken that call 6 days ago. Sarah opened the bakery box. "I brought cannoli," she said. "From that place on Union Street you like." "Thank you, sweetheart." Derek cleared his throat. "Robert, I want to apologize again, not just for Thanksgiving. For a lot of things. I've been taking you for granted. We both have." "Yes," I said. "You have." Sarah flinched. "But," I continued, "I should have said something sooner. I let it build up. That's on me." "What do we do now?" Sarah asked. I looked at my daughter. She was 39 years old, but in that moment, I could see the little girl who used to bring me drawings she'd made in kindergarten and ask me to put them on my office wall. "We start over," I said. "We set some boundaries. We all try harder. Sound fair?" "Fair," Derek said. "Fair," Sarah echoed. We had lunch together. Sandwiches I'd picked up from the deli, the cannoli, coffee in the good cups Catherine had collected. We talked about work and the weather and a trip to wine country we could all take together in the spring. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. That night, after they left, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and looked up at the stars. It was a clear night, unusual for Mill Valley. I could see Orion's Belt, the Big Dipper, constellations. Catherine and I used to point out to Sarah when she was small. "I think we did okay," I said to the night sky, to Catherine's memory, to whoever might be listening. "I think we're going to be okay." My phone was quiet. No missed calls, no frantic messages, just silence. And for the first time in a long time, that silence felt like peace. I raised my glass to the stars, to the wine country hills somewhere beyond the horizon, to the daughter who'd shown up at my door with apologies and cannoli, to the life I'd built and the boundaries I'd finally learned to defend. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said. The stars didn't answer, but I hadn't expected them to. I finished my wine, went inside, and slept better than I had in months.